Good morning to everybody that's listening or that subscribed or watches my channel. So yesterday I was trying to make this trying to explain to people the circumstances of life when it comes to like being a scene kid. I don't know, I don't think that makes ouch any sense. Um So basically, I was trying to make this video yesterday, but my mom ended up getting home and she was like making a bunch of noise. So I stopped making the video, but I had, I had a lot that I was saying about um fashion. I guess to me, I see like seeing kids as a fashion, as an or origin of fashion. When I say like an origin, I literally mean like it was meant to be. Like that reference, that style, that like that um iconicness was meant to become popular. But there's like a lot of things that are like in nature that like have um the negative negative um I don't know how do you explain that, like when something has like negative um I guess it would be something that has negative opinions. Like life is hilarious because life is so funny to me because there are things that are meant to survive, and then there are things that are meant to not survive, and then things that are meant to be taboo. Scene kids are literally basically almost a 25% taboo. Like, you know, a lot of people in America want to be like dressed up as whatever the references are. I did my own research on Scene Kids. I did my own research on the Scene Kid aesthetic when I was in high school because I was a scene kid myself. And I still really, really like that style. I still like the style. I still like the music. I like everything that is like about that lifestyle. So I am here today to try to motivate and do motivate and inspire Scene Kid aesthetic and whoever watches this video. First and foremost, let me re-edit it, re-edit it. What I was talking about, the life circumstances. In literally in life, you don't know where you're going to fall into place. Basically, I see myself as a um like if it was a promoter, a Scene Kid promoter, because um like I said, there is a lot of interesting expectations that you are meant to fulfill in the Scene Kid agenda. The Scene Kids have an agenda as well as everyone else does. The agenda of the Scene Kid is basically written down by the uh I want to say a fashion aesthetic that references what we as humans love to reference. So uh basically there is so many different types of acknowledgments that are meant to fulfill the Scene Kid um I guess you could say like tributes or rituals or mannerisms or lifestyle. Uh so yeah, let's go back to re-editing what I was saying about falling into uh certain um life um aesthetic, not life fashion aesthetic, like moments that you don't know like are basically you don't know are basically like um I'm trying to think of like when something's like when you fall into a situation that is like super cool. But I don't know. I can't think at the moment. I mean, I could definitely think of something, but I'm trying to make like um the most oh shit, I literally just um kind of spit on on my laptop. Okay, so like I think what I was trying to say is that, like, for example, the importance of something that is so iconic is can't sometimes can't be like explained or have individuality, um because it's so like gnarly. um I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. Well, I I kind of know what I'm saying. Like when w- like basically when you're like trying to find a certain life lifestyle. Like if you're trying to find a certain lifestyle, you don't know like what to do or what lifestyle um to follow, or you don't know where to fall into place, and you want to like learn a different form of expression to fulfill certain fashion or like certain um look looks. You have to like basically like think about the scene kid aesthetic. I think the scene kid aesthetic is basically like when there it falls into like that expectation that is like kind of in between, um in between there's it's like two different, it's like basically like three different lifestyles put into like I don't know what I don't know what lifestyles. Well, there's okay, I guess like different life expectations. So basically, like if you go back and like to re-edit like the expectations, what I'm trying to say, I finally like got it. like the expectations of like a scene kid in life are kind of um like different because, well, not different, well, kind of different, but like just so like the expectations, basically what I'm saying is that in life different fashion aesthetics have different expectations, and in life you don't really know how people are going to view your form of expression, because the aesthetic that you are trying to commit to, what I'm saying is that the expectations of a scene kid have a lot of life forms of the um it gets really like complicated. I don't want to say like, because I work for like a Harajuku company in Asia, and I don't want to say Harajuku because it would be like so um like expected from my 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 form of expression or my form of intelligence to say like the scene kid has Harajuku inspired mannerisms. I wanted to leave like the mannerism parts like till the end and form more of like a life reality aesthetic um form of lifestyle expression for the scene kid aesthetic. So it's kind of like I'm trying to like remember how basically like in America you have the punk culture, which references, basically like, I don't want to say the music either, but pop I mean punk culture references a certain lifestyle and a certain fashion aesthetic that has to be like followed and mimicked within that culture. So like scene kids come from an American classic fashion aesthetic that uh creates a very um playful rock scene. But it's more than just a um role play. It's like role playing a character of what the expectation of a scene kid is. Um, like if you go to like Asia and you go to like Brazil or you go to like Mexico or um like England, you will find different forms of expression that um create um that are like a form of like world bondness. So like aesthetic, fashion, culture, um references, things like that bring the world together. They bring the world together to communicate the up and coming culture or reference. So when you go to like these countries and you're like, like what's going on in this country? Like what's going on in this country is that there's a rise of aesthetic or culture, and the scene kids were a reference to um to culture and to this form of communication. Basically, like all cultures and all references are a form of communication. And the scene kid was a pretty cool like pretty cool form of communication. The agenda that we are speaking about, I'm going to be speaking about in a little bit, but we have to like still talk about the way that it became so vocabulary in America. Like I guess you can't say that something is cool without the fashion of the fashion aesthetic of the brand. Like punk communities like Paramore worked worked so hard to create something that can be called their own form of expression, individuality, lifestyle, resource. Like the punk culture hit the jackpot with the scene kid aesthetic because it was like multi-dimensionally a realm where the agenda was so American, intellectually, vocabulary, uh aesthetically fashionable to communicate. Does that make sense? Like when you're trying to like communicate something, when you're trying to like fulfill an agenda that is like basically the agenda of the future. Like for example, there are some scene kids that you go up to like their MySpace or their Facebook or their Instagram, and like their names are different. Their names are different. They have like this like, like I don't know because I never changed my name in high school. Like I said, in high school I was a scene kid. So yeah. So I feel like so cool. But like um the depth the depth of the scenario is like punk American classic Barbie. It all goes back to the explanation of boy Barbie and girl Barbie. Basically, like not giving power to Barbie or not referencing Barbie and not having anything to do with Barbie, but having the expectation of a Barbie in punk culture would be the scene girl or the scene boy. So like that is the depth of the world uh of a lifestyle. So like like the Harajuku girl, the Harajuku girl is basically very very in depth with vocabulary, mannerisms, life, role play. So what we are trying to explain is like that like life has an expectation of vocabulary or an expectation of radicalness or gnarliness or an expectation of um basically like performances. Like life has these performance expectations, like performances, like the expectation that every single move in your life will become a great form of something. So the Scene Kid um was that form for a culture. It was part of the rock. It's part of like the rock and roll culture. Um, I don't think because it's just part of. I don't think there's like I don't know who else. I don't remember like I mean in fashion you have like different moments of like different like fashion trends, but you never really have I've never really seen like a whole lifestyle piece. So it's pretty cool. Um the like again the depth of the situation um is so like constructed to communicate uh a multi universe in one uh in one fashion aesthetic. So like there's different designs of this aesthetic because of the growing agenda and the diff and other and more than and multiple scene kids coming together. um like when you have a a formula for success, when you have a formula for success, the odds are that there is going to be multiple life expectations. So we could go back and say like the expectations of a scene kid are so in depth with culture and how to be a scene kid is like so in depth with the gnarliness of culture. Like if you're like, I'm gonna go to like I'm gonna go to like Asia and become like a scene kid in Asia and take over the planet. How would you do that? You have to like reference that culture, and you have to like become the aesthetic and the references that is that culture. Like a lot of you might think like, "Oh, well, you have to be yourself." It's it's probably like a 5% chance that you kind of do have to be yourself, but at the end of the day, the scene kid comes from a culture and a reference. It didn't just pop out of the nowhere. And there is certain guidelines that you have to follow to be a scene kid. So it's pretty cool. Um I for example, I'm going to be doing more scene kid videos and making different like life um expectations for the brand based on like culture ref of scene kid culture references. Like I don't know, I like flowers. I really don't like flowers, but I like flowers, so we have to think about something with flowers or something. um what was I saying? Oh yeah. Uh okay, so um the agenda the agenda is like basically um so gnarly. Uh so yeah. Um yeah, we're we're taking we're taking this be to like the stars and beyond because there's a lot that has to get covered, and I'm trying to do it in a hour or so. um so yeah. I was mentioning like the like where it comes from and like oh, I was saying that it doesn't it just didn't come from like out of the nowhere. It came from a reference. I like fashion, so like in my heart, I do believe that it has to do a lot with my best friend introduced me to I think her name is Betsy Johnson. My best friend introduced me to Betsy Johnson in high school. Her name was Angie, and she I was always kind of talking about Betsy Johnson and Betsy Johnson this and Betsy Johnson that. And I like fashion. Me and her used to be like fashion lovers in high school. I still love fashion and I still follow it. I work for a fashion agency. So like I could explain how it potentially came from those types of realms, like the Betsy Johnson realms, like the girl chic, the rock star girl, the chic rock star Betsy Johnson aesthetic aesthetics, but it could it's not that it's bullshit, but maybe there's like 1% to 2% like scenarios where, you know, there was this girl that was like into rock music and looking for a form, a different trend or something, and she looked at like, like Betsy Johnson. But let's be let's be real. I don't know if I want to be I would say like it's like in my mind it's to me the imagination of the scenario is like that it came from culture, like culture references, like punk culture references. But then again, like I kind of I'm kind of like I don't I don't want to explain the whole Betsy Johnson aesthetic because my best friend, my ex best friend, or my best friend in high school would love to like research and talk about. Well, she's not gonna talk about it because we're not friends anymore. But I am a blonde. I am a blonde at heart, and certain things like really hurt my, my feelings. And like I think I would be taking a part of like her life if I were to like explain that form, that fashion culture reference. Because we all know that we could say like, oh yeah, it came from like Betsy. It came like has to do a lot with like Betsy Johnson and culture and references and this and that and blah 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 blah. But girls will be girls, and so to me, I think like there is that there is that because in my heart for her, I want to say like that um Betsy Johnson takes a part of culture references versus versus culture, basically like saying that like culture has nothing against Betsy Johnson and Betsy Johnson has like the culture reference. Like, what is culture without Betsy Johnson, and what is Betsy Johnson doing for culture. Does that make any sense? Like there wouldn't be any culture. um so yeah, and I think it's true because like in high school she used to be like, I love Betsy Johnson, I love Betsy Johnson, I want to, I want to go to like the Betsy Johnson store. And like the next, I think like the next day she was like super scene kid, like super scene kid or something like that. Because I remember like when we were in high school, she, I think it was like the 11th grade or the 10th grade. It was like she wasn't a scene kid until like the next month or something like that. Some shit like that. I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't think it was from the beginning of the school year, because I know that at the beginning of the school year it wasn't like that. I don't remember. So yeah, I think like I think a lot of you guys are like expecting like this. A lot of you guys are expecting like there to be like a movement of what I just said, but there's going to be no explanation on the rock scene girl culture until we get this scene kid uh reference situated, because um does that make any sense? Basically saying like what I'm basically saying to you guys is that a lot of you guys are very stupid, where you guys are getting carried away by like culture references, and like you guys have no tendencies to like form a lifestyle, or be like, oh, you know what, that's cool, let's keep on talking about this subject. And then like you guys are just like all over the place, basically. Like, oh wow, okay, so like we see like um we see something and then like we're moving on, like a stupid ant. Like you're like a dumb ant. Ant. There's like sugar on the table, and there's sugar on the table, and then you just want to eat it. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about the scene kid life, like aesthetic, like why it's gnarly, why it's cool, like why it's this, why it's that. Not like, oh yeah, like all of a sudden I think it's cool. I don't know. If you think it's cool all of a sudden because of Betsy Johnson, I don't know. I think like I think you're stupid because there's more than I think there's more than what meets the eye, or something like that. Something like that. Like, or it could be my form of like protecting like a certain aesthetic, um a certain aesthetic. So yeah, like I think, for example, the the most important the most important is like vocabulary. So like I know a lot of people used to say like I think that they used to say like um talk shit, eat blood or something like that. Like stuff like that. I think that's really where it comes from. That could be really where it comes from. I'm not too positive. My headphones are like there's actually a lot of little scene kids that like to like go to like mosh pits. I never was in a mosh pit because I was half scene kid, half prep. So that was not that was not my thing. I went to like 3 or 4 shows and then I graduated and then I moved to California and I started smoking a lot of weed. But yeah, um so there is like an underlining um emotion in me or like form of expression that I want to express like that you know there is like there's this subject where um basically like tiaras tiaras have a lot to do with like with seeing kids and um expressing like because in like society there's like this hierarchy and form of expression is super gnarly. Form of expression is super gnarly. So it's pretty cool because the like gnarliness is the gnarliness is real. Oh yeah, so I was gonna talk about like the mannerisms and all that, but we're gonna leave that for another day. Um, I'm gonna go make breakfast. I'm gonna make my breakfast video next, and I'm gonna upload it. So this is pretty much. I think like for example, like the Betsy Johnson scenario is real. It's really real, and it's really insane. And I just fell in love. I know, like I said that you were stupid, but I was just joking. I wasn't joking, but I would say like that shit is real because the rock the scene girl is real, dude. I don't know. I have to go.